Good afternoon, everybody. Happy Monday. Welcome to Midday Market Update. Glenn is off today, so I'm filling in for him. A lot going on in the market today. Now, if you can hear me, if you can see me, all of the technicals stuff sounds good, looks good on your end. Just let me know with VV in the comments section, so that way we can get started. Hey, Pennywise, Bill, Deanna, Marvin, John in the house. We've got Greg. All right, Pennywise, you gave me the heads up. You can hear me. You can see me. I think we're on about a 10, 15 second delay. I'm trying to figure that out. Yeah, John, Glenn is out today. He should be back tomorrow. As far as I know. And Joey is also out today, John. We got Clay behind the scenes running the show today. Yeah, both of them. You know what it is? It's supposed to be 80 degrees here today. I think they're playing hooky. I'm just messing. But no, I think Glenn's sick, so hopefully he feels better, and it should be business as usual come tomorrow. All right, so as we take a look at the homepage today, I saw the major indices up today. I think the Nasdaq's a couple hundred points up, Dow Jones a couple hundred points up. We're giving that away, right? I'm not too sold. If you're more aggressive, if you're an active trader, familiar with technical analysis, disciplined, hey, play the market as it comes to you, right? Otherwise, if you're more conservative, if you don't have a lot of time to put in the market, it's still probably best to just be on the sidelines right now. Build up that cash, take profits when necessary. Hey, from Colorado, put in the comment section where everybody's watching from, because, we are going to try to do a road show, and we're still getting the logistics. The beginning of that road show, actually, May 1st. We're actually going to play a clip here in just a second. But definitely put where you're watching from, so that way we kind of know where the subscribers are located, or pocketed, and we can try to, come out west, go to the northeast. France, I don't know if we'll be in France. I'll be honest with you, but I wouldn't mind going to France, but I don't know if that's on the agenda. We'll see how it turns out. All right, let me play this clip. And definitely check out the registration page, the VIP experience. Again, we've got Jarvis Vineyards. If you're not familiar with Jarvis and you're a wine drinker, phenomenal wine. I mean, if you Google it, their bottles are a couple $100s a piece. So check that out. Clay, let's run the clip, and we're going to go right into
Hey, VV Nation, I'm Glenn.
And I'm Ryan. We've got a special event coming next month, May 1st. We're finally hitting the road. Now, we will be hosting some live streams. Tell them a little bit about the live streams we'll be doing.
We're going to have the Stock Analysis Power Hour. Ryan will host that. Bring your stocks. Let Ryan break them down for you. I'll also do a live stream called Trending Thursday. That's where we go through, look at what's going on in the market, what's going on in the news, and we analyze stocks. We also have a live presentation for those people who will be attending live as well. What's that, Ryan?
Now, we do have the presentation titled Unlocking the Secrets of Financial Success. Now, to register for free and get the details, just go to VectorVest.com/roadshow. All right, everyone. Let's get back to it here. All right, I see all of the cities there mentioned. I know Northeast, a lot of people there in the New Jersey, New York area. As far as international, hey, I'm not against it. Obviously, that's just something we gotta, get approved with management. But I'm sure me and Glenn, we wouldn't mind packing our bags and going across the pond to visit you guys over in Europe. Yemen. Tabula, that might be a stretch. I'm not gonna lie. I would like to go to Yemen. I actually specialize in Northern African and Arab politics in college. If you guys didn't know that, I wouldn't mind checking it out, but I don't think most people would want to go. We'll see how it works out. All right, back to the homepage here. Right, let's just look at these major indices. All the gains given up today. We're gonna jump right into the news stories now. See what's moving the market. Try to get you on the right side here. Let me just switch this around. All right, there we go. All right, first thing we're going to start off with China's exports, right? I saw it mentioned in the comment section with Apple, right? Apple, China kind of being there really has been a whole lot of negotiating when it comes to China here. That's why I think Apple obviously is being crushed, has been crushed. I know there's a little pivot there. We'll see how that plays out. But here, look at this. we've been talking about it. Everyone's trying to get their products stateside before the tariffs. I did a short last week on Apple, right? It was like 600 tons of iPhone products coming from India. Everyone's trying to, get their products here. So I've said it before. If you start to see prices, skyrocketing, it's probably a little bit of a price gouging by that business, just because a lot of these things haven't really taken effect yet. I would pass on Yemen. It could be a one-way trip, Michael. John says, I think Glenn will go to Yemen before he goes to New Hampshire. I won't speak for Glenn on that matter. But looking at this, China's exports jumped in March 12%, right? So you can see all the countries, and not just China, other countries around the world trying to race to get their products in the States. And also on the adverse effect, right? Exports to these other countries. A lot of businesses want to get that built up as well. Obviously this is going to play a factor because as these products are sold, the next batch of products, depending on the industry and what you're looking at, that's going to be where the tariffs take place, right? That's where you're going to start to see prices probably rise. We'll see how it plays out. Qubits, I wonder what Qubits is doing today, because I'm thinking about it, just quantum stocks in general, very risky, right? Well, we've been going into a risk-off situation. So I haven't really done any quantum videos. It's been a couple months probably. But, maybe we'll check that out, see if there's any bottom fishing opportunities there. Palantir's may have been awarded a NATO contract and is up today. Again, they get contract after contract. But one thing that I'm not liking is our valuation isn't going up, right? I would think after all of these deals, I hear there are no socks available anymore. Actually, I know that's a lie, because I was in Mount Airy, North Carolina, or I think they actually have a sock plant, so maybe these were more domestic socks, but they had a sock store there. That's some good stocks. If you've never been to Mount Airy, North Carolina, definitely check it out. It's the home of the Andy Griffith Show. So if you're a big fan of Andy Griffith and you want to see the museum and ride in the cop car, definitely check it out when you get a chance. But yeah, exports, everyone's getting their products over here. Not surprised by that at all. Another thing moving the market today, look at this, unemployment fears. I saw this flash, as a headline earlier. The Fed survey came out, and look, unemployment fears hit worst level since COVID as tariffs fuel inflation outlook, right? No one really knows, the damage that's going to be done by these tariffs, but more importantly, with it changing consistently, because I remember another reason why the market was up today, obviously, electronics. I know there were some exemptions on some of these tariffs when it comes to electronics, and I know one of the White House aides kind of got caught in the crosshairs there, because first said there was not going to be any, and now there's going to be any, and I think that's where the confusion is coming from. There's not, been a set, clear plan on some of these tariffs, and going forward with this. But you see here, consumers worry, inflation, unemployment, all of those items that can occur because of a trade war. That's what's spooking the markets. That's what's been spooking the markets. And I don't think the spook is over. Do you guys think the spook is over? I don't think so. Not yet. Because all it takes is, another policy change and, just to confuse the market even more. Now, here we go. Ray Dalio, he's been pretty adamant about, recession. I know they ticked it up to like 60% chance. But here he's saying, this was this Sunday, that the monetary system, he's concerned that the global monetary system will break down. I know Glenn's talked about it a lot, the BRICS nations. Me personally, I think Bitcoin's probably ahead of the game of the BRICS nations. But look, the fallout, turmoil in bonds could be more severe shock to the monetary system than the 2008 financial crisis. I've said it before last week Friday. I'm not a bond expert, but one thing I found very interesting about these bonds, corporate and government debt. Let's see, Ray Dalio is starting to sound like Jeremy Grantham. I never buy a Monday morning rally. Yeah, I probably wouldn't recommend, especially in today's volatile market. Mayberry based on Pittsburgh, North Carolina, but Mount Airy was in show a lot. Oh, okay, I didn't know that. Marvin, good. I did see the original, the Jailhouse with the Andy Griffith Show. That was actually really cool. I mean, the whole town is dedicated to the Andy Griffith Show. So if that is something that, you like, I would definitely check it out. Pennywise says, I work at UPS and we're told hours are getting cut and layoffs have begun for the PM shift. Interesting. Big news since I work at the biggest UPS air hub on the West Coast. That is big news, right? And it does make sense because think about it. If for the past, 2-3 months now, we've seen it, lots of articles about it. Mayberry equals Mount Airy. Yes, Scott. Yep. I didn't know that for a while. I live here in North Carolina, but yes, now I know. Google TV has the Andy Griffith Show on Classic TV. Okay, there's some Andy Griffith fans out here. I like it. I like the Andy Griffith Show. I thought it was good. I hadn't watched it in a while. growing up, obviously I probably watched it with my grandma, but since going there, I've seen a couple episodes and I'm ready to watch some more. But yes, the bond market creating havoc last week, right? I'm not going to speak on behalf of Trump, but I think the bond market and what happened in the bond market caused a pivot and policy shift there, right? Obviously he wants to do a lot of things, but a lot of individuals in the economy aren't necessarily on board with taking some of the hits needed to make those changes, right? In the bond market, obviously, I saw article after article, billionaire donors, I'm sure he didn't want to make that pivot, but it looks like he was forced to do it. Now, here's something about the bond market, because I know a lot of people here might be holding bonds as well as part of your portfolio. So it's just, pretty good introduction, just kind of give you a sense of how the bond market can react to certain things, right? Look at this. The bond market comprises of corporate government bonds or government debt, right? A rapid decline in bond prices signals a market crash. And that's what happened last week, right? Or a bond market crash. Now, bonds play a significant role in the global economy. We all kind of know what they do there. So there's no official threshold for a bond market crash, but the bond market has taken a steep dive in April as a result of Donald Trump's tariffs and global trade war. This is alongside deep stock market signs. But look at this. Bond prices dropped sharply as treasury yields jumped, a reaction that has surprised many economists as bonds typically represent a safe haven, right? Nowadays, look, even bonds are being questioned as a safe haven. Yes, China dumping treasuries. I've seen it a lot of, I've said this before. Once we get into the realm of non-traditional tariffs and dumping or refusing to buy U.S. debt is a non-traditional tariff, right? That's part of a trade war. There's things that, a lot of people might not even be thinking about that these policies can affect, right? So again, that's why I'm taking the advice of the VectorVest 7 system. The confirmed call is still down. Even the DEW is still down. So if you're a prudent swing trader, still not the best time to be buying stocks, right? Other countries dumping U.S. treasuries is why Trump is backpedaling now. I'm not, again, I don't like to get into politics, but obviously the politics and the market are pretty intertwined right now. But you heard Pennywise's comment there. The bonds, that whole mess last week, to me, I feel like that's what pushed the pivot and policy changes there. Wow, SPX over 80 points from the high today. Alex Ryan, I warned of treasury problems last week. Bill, yes, you did. I will give you 100% credit of that, Bill. And I think it was on Glenn's live stream, I think when he first mentioned it, and I think you did it again Wednesday. But I think by Wednesday, we all kind of a little bit talking about it because that's kind of when it more came into fruition. Oh, yeah, and that's right, because that's when the big jump was last Wednesday, right? I'm pretty sure that was last Wednesday. But yeah, so just want to give you, a little bit of a background on bonds, just, especially since I know bonds are a big part of the portfolio rather than just stocks. But, to end on this note, interest rates and the price of bonds have an inverse relationship, right? So if you see interest rates, start to tick up, like they did, was that 2021, 2022 to slow down inflation. I know there were some fears of the bond market there. And here it is right here. Look, rising interest rates in 2022, the Treasury bond market crash that played a significant role in the collapse and sell-off of Silicon Valley Bank. Ooh, I didn't even think about that. I didn't, that does make sense. It did play a role because they didn't hedge their bonds, right? So I'm really hoping the banks learn from Silicon Valley, because if they did not, it's that, the last thing the market needs right now is a headline saying a bank has just collapsed. That is not going to be good for the market going into, tariffs and whatnot this month, right? Schwab, I like Schwab. Someone said, I started with TD Ameritrade. Obviously, they purchased it out. I like the mechanics of their broker. It's not what I use now, but Bill, John, yes. No, I watch Schwab TV. Jerry has to go easy on the makeup. That's funny. You know what? How about this? For anybody that's new to trading, new to the stock market, I want everyone else to put their favorite broker down. I don't like recommending a broker, but this will give you a chance. Look through the comment section. A lot of people here in this comment section have been trading a lot longer than I have been, right? So just, if you are new to investing, or if you're thinking about getting a new brokerage, well, the other individuals of EV Nation, just put in the comment section your favorite broker. Me personally, I'm a Webull fan. That's just me. I know it's the new age. I'm young, but the only reason why I like them is just because their buy sell orders for options. I'm a pretty avid day trader, as you guys know. I just like how I can get in and out, and I can put stops on options. It just works well for me. Look, we got Schwab, Robinhood, Webull. Sorry, those would be my 3 picks personally. Would be Schwab, Robinhood, or Webull. I've got Robinhood and Webull. I like Robinhood because I can, if I want to, I can purchase some cryptos without having to get in the crypto world and the decentralized exchanges, because those decentralized exchanges could be expensive when it comes to like gas fees and things of that nature. I like Hood, even the stock for Hood. Actually, I'm curious what the stock is doing now. Now, that being said, now we've got some brokerages. I just wanted to give you what's going on in the market first. There's a lot of risk in the market. That's pretty much, every story here. Well, this is a little bit of optimism. But unemployment, financial situation worse than 2008 is what Ray Dalio spoke about Sunday, and then the bond market. All right, let's go right into it. U.S. Antimony. I know I've been talking about U.S. Antimony since before Trump was talking about rare earth minerals. I just knew they were important, more so for semiconductors, but after some research, finding out antimony is used a lot for military applications. I think night vision goggles was one of the things on the list. It was around 70, 80 cents, but this stock here has pretty much got the green light on everything, because we all know, not only Trump, but just from a national security standpoint, I do see the importance of, not relying on China. They're at like 90% of the rare earth and critical mineral and all that good stuff market share. For national security purposes, I see the reason why, and there's some rhetoric out there, obviously, from the administration, but they've got expansion plans in Alaska. They're pretty much getting the green light projects here. One thing I really do like about U.S. Antimony, the stock was trading about 60, 70 cents when I first started talking about it. It was only valued at 20 cents. So that was a concern for me. But obviously, with everything going on in the world, I knew this company would be very important. But now the valuation of the company went from around 20 cents. Now it's up at like $1.80 or just over $1.80. That is huge. In what, 7 months since I've been talking about it? So we're going to take a look at the chart here. U.S. Antimony just topped over $3 today. Sounds like a trailing stop to me. Had to close stop. It made on buy it again. It's been a volatile position. So you do have to give it some wiggle room to grow. It's not a beginner trade by any means. And if you're not disciplined, I wouldn't recommend it just because it has gone astronomical. If you are in it, and I got you in, especially sub $1 or sub $1.50, you're now doubled your money or potentially tripled it, depending if you got into it at that time. I'd be more concerned about, taking some profits, playing more with house money, right? I mean, it was a great trade. It probably still has some room to run. So we'll take a look at it and see how that's working out. But the forecasted data is just skyrocketing on U.S. Antimony. If it's not on your radar, put it on your radar. We're going to talk about the stock chart in just a moment. Keystone Pipeline. This is another big news that came out. Did a short on this. I think it was 2 weeks ago when the pipeline had a leak. It was breaking news. So there wasn't too many details I could reveal at that time. But look at this, because I said that this could put some pressure on, oil, crude oil especially, going into the future, at least short term. But look at this. It will resume operations by April 15th, right? So if you did buy oil, or if you're playing, oil stocks based on this news, just letting you know that this thing will be operational here in just a few days. Well, actually, tomorrow. It's the 14th, right? But again, we see oil up today. So just, keep that in mind. Now we got, not this one. Where did my other story go? Oh, I think it was the Intel story. All right, so here's a good one right here. Silver Lake to acquire majority stake of Altera from Intel. Have you guys heard about this one today? Now, this I found interesting. It's 51% Silver Lake. It'll be 49% remaining owned by Intel. Now, Intel spun this part of the company off under the restructuring plan of Gelsinger. And this wasn't that long ago, honestly, when they spun this off. But what I found very interesting, this company here, Altera, let me just click on this right here. Xilinx is their main competitor, right? Because I didn't really know that much about Altera. Honestly, never heard of them before this morning. But Xilinx boards are preferable for general logic as their designs are primarily for application development, right? Now, that being said, who owns Xilinx? AMD acquired them, right? I think that was, about 2 years ago, year and a half ago? So Intel essentially spun off a part of their business that really isn't doing that well. And they got a buyer for it. That's my opinion. So I thought that was a good move from them. They need to raise capital, and now they've got, I think it was, $4 or $5 billion now extra in capital. So just, keep that in mind. If you saw the Intel jumped up today, this is the reason why, right? Let's see here. Ron says indicator moving average envelope 44%. That's pretty correlated with Nvidia chart. Make big money upside, downside. You don't believe I am up trading only Nvidia. Go test it. Nvidia, I do like to dip on Nvidia. It's funny you talk about Nvidia. That's the next news story right here. Look at this. Nvidia to mass produce AI supercomputers in Texas as part of a $500 billion push, right? Now, Nvidia is no stranger to trade wars and tariffs and restrictions just because of China. Obviously, the U.S. under, first started with Trump 1 and then, Biden and even now Trump 2. Nvidia has navigated this situation very, very well, right? I know the stock is down today, but look at this. Nvidia announced to produce Nvidia AI supercomputers entirely in the U.S. for the first time, right? That $500 billion push was from when TSMC invested into the United States. You can see right here, it's Blackwell AI chips have started production in Phoenix, Arizona at Taiwan Semiconductor plants, right? And again, look, all this is coming out right after reciprocal tariffs on a long list of countries. How old is that Nvidia news? It's from Monday, April 14th. I know the supercomputer, because I did a story on it. I think it was like $3,000 supercomputer. That's been out for a couple months. It hasn't really gained a whole lot of news. I don't know if you could buy them yet. I haven't really thought about buying a $3,000 computer right now. But as far as, the news coming out that this is totally going to be made in the U.S. As far as I know, this is the first article I've seen on it. It's going to be completely made in the United States here. You see here, look, the powers, much today's eye boom. We all know about that. Look, the company said it plans to produce up to $500 billion worth of AI infrastructure in the U.S. Manufacturing partnerships over the next 4 years, right? And one thing I found very interesting, talking about tariffs and countries, things of that nature, because I do keep an eye on the GCC countries, that's the Gulf Cooperation Council. Saudi Arabia is kind of leading the pack because they've got 10% tariffs right now. Saudi Arabia, in order to fix their budget problems, oil's got to go up, way up. I think it was like $90-something, because they've got a lot of big aspirations, right? Well, it doesn't look like oil is going to go $90. So what are they going to do? They're going to take advantage of these 10% tariffs, and now they're going to start increasing manufacturing capability. That story was on oilprice.com. I read about that this morning. I thought that was pretty smart, right? Let's see here. Ryan, how does NVIDIA building them impact SMCI and Dell? You know, that's something. Well, I know SMCI is more for like their data centers, to be. So I don't know about these individual supercomputers. But if we take a look here, look at this. Trump placed a 32% tariffs on Taiwan, where Nvidia largely manufactured GPUs. You know, Apple, iPhones, everything's coming from Taiwan when it comes to technology. But yeah, that 32% tariff kind of, you know, pushed Taiwan Semi and Nvidia to kind of, this may be good for Dell, to be honest. Might just be. I would buy Intel shares for investment purposes rather than for trading. David, I agree with that. I could get with that, investment purpose. You know, I just think as far as Intel, you know, if Nvidia was still trading at 150, 160, if AMD was still up there in price, I personally would choose Nvidia or AMD over Intel, maybe even a Broadcom or Marvel. I have to take a look at some of those other stocks here. SMCI obviously being the riskier choice, but I think overall, if you can get that in the low 30s, probably going to work out for the long term. All right, let's go into the software here. Pull up the VectorVest software. But yeah, a lot of big news stories, especially in tech space here. A lot of big transactions. You know, these tariffs are affecting semiconductors quite a bit here. And if we take a look, major indices barely holding on in positive territory. Yep, Bill, that's what I think. Intel still sinks. I mean, think about it. That company Altera, which competes with, was it Zilling, the one that AMD owns, that company is in a better spot than Intel. Me personally, I think Intel just did a good job raising, you know, $4 to $5 billion in capital with that deal. They need the money. They've got a lot of, I mean, these fabs, and this is not a cheap space to get into. You're going to need a lot of cash. And that's why you're seeing the likes of Apple, Amazon get into the semiconductor space, right? Because you need a lot of cash in order to do that. Intel China connections is going to hurt the stock even more. What do you mean by that, Ron? I'm just curious. I am curious. But are you talking about like restrictions on Intel products going into China? I'm just curious. Intel stinks more. I'm not going to read that, John. All right, let's see. Let me go to the graphs real quick. I do have the major indices on here. Let me just go to 6 months, see what we got here. S&P. I've talked about this before, that 20-day EMA. I mean, look at it. Rejection, rejection, rejection. I see the trend line here, right? I'm not sold on where we are at. I need to get at least, you know, to get some confidence, you know, in the market, really on a good dip buying opportunity. I want to see these indices above this 20-day EMA. Obviously, if they break their downward trend, hey, that's even better, right? But right now, I mean, the momentum's not there. Let's see. Let's go to 3 months, and let's add support resistance. Actually, we got support resistance right here. Yep, and we're caught at a level of resistance here at 550. We're in that zone. We barely got in the zone today. We're just a little slither here at the bottom of the zone, but then we got the rejection we're seeing here. Now, that's the S&P. Let's move right on over to the Qs. You see the Qs here? Look at this trend line. Rejection right at that trend line and the 20-day EMA. Not what I like to see, right? Oh, what happened to my little line here? There we go. There we go. But you can see where I'm looking at. I see the primary wave is up right now. So if you're tiptoeing into the market, things of that nature, hey, that's on you. Just know it's very aggressive right now, right? Primary wave is the fastest moving market timing signal we have. Me personally, be more prudent in nature, especially if I'm really going to start loading up on stocks. I want to see these indices above the 20-day EMA and preferably breaking this trend line, right? And they're pretty close together, but right now we are getting rejection right at these two key levels. Glenn would say this is a poopy market. Could we get an amen for Glenn? Come on, let's get an amen for Glenn. Let's do it. Glenn, I hope you're watching this, bud. These amens are for you, buddy. Ryan, that isn't a Seinfeld episode. All right, but yeah, we're seeing the major indices here getting rejection right at these critical levels. All right, we got QQQ. Here's the Russell 2000. Again, this one didn't even make it to the 20-day EMA. We don't do intraday data when it comes to the Russell 2000 here. But you can see, I mean, this is worse than the other major indices. Not getting a lot of optimism here. And the big rally candlestick we saw last Wednesday, if you notice, we're still in the body of that when it comes to these small cap companies. Do we have the DEW up at least? No, it shouldn't be. Let me just double check here. No, yeah, it's still down. It's still down. We'll take a look at the DEW signal because I know everyone's getting antsy. We've been talking about that shopping list for a while now. So we've seen a little bit of optimism, and if you've taken nibbles, like I said, you know, Nvidia sub 100, I can't be mad at it. You know, I think, you know, I'm not gonna back up the truck right now, but every time Nvidia gets sub 100, you know, me personally buying a couple shares, really not that. I have not covered the VIX yet. I am gonna cover the VIX because I was actually looking at the VIX earlier today. Here we've got Nvidia. So I know everyone, you know, you don't even have to, you know, don't even put in the comment section when I take your stock picks, right? You know, I just put Nvidia here because I know someone, you know, a lot of people want to talk about Nvidia. Hey, I like Nvidia, but what I don't like about Nvidia, look, it's still in this descending channel. You can see it broke to the down end, but once it broke to the down end, I like that buying pressure. And honestly, I mean, yeah, Nvidia, you know, sub $90. I was not surprised to see some buying pressure there. But the other thing that I'm not, you know, liking too much about Nvidia's chart right now, and it's a chart pattern that I don't like in general for stocks. Look at the valuation on the decline. Look at price action on the decline, right? So if I really want to start, you know, getting, you know, real optimistic about AMD for the long haul and just, you know, ease of mind, you know, I really want to see the value. I just put it right here. I want to see the valuation start ticking back up. I want to see the valuation hit a new high, right? Because our valuation comes off of forecasted data, interest rates, things of that nature. What do the problems with the bond market mean for the stock market? Well, according to Ray Dalio, if it goes really bad, it could cause a financial crisis similar to 2008. Glenn is not in love with him. I'm not in love with Nvidia right now. I mean, I like the stock. And like I said, you know, on this dip, anywhere close to 100 or sub 100, I know I can't be too mad at it. But if you really want some optimism here, you know, this has been a key level that has came into play for quite some time here. You know, upper zone around 122. You can see rejection. I've had this here for a while. You know, and you see it's come into play quite a bit here, playing off of it. We see rejection here. But yeah, I want to see valuation tick up. And I want to see price action get above 122. Because what does that tell me when that happens? That means value is now trending higher. Price action now trending higher, right? And obviously, if you want some real confirmation, you know, probably break above this trend line. If it breaks above that trend line, we might get a retest depending on what goes on in the market. But if we're near Nvidia's earnings or there's any, you know, good news when it comes to tariffs, you know, Nvidia might just leave this descending channel behind and might not even have a retest. But obviously, you know, that's down the road, and we'll cross that bridge when it happens, or if it does. I would like to see a podcast of Ray Dalio and Jeremy Allen would be the biggest doomfest buy signal, right? Yeah. You know, I take what he says for a grain of salt because I know, you know, a lot of people have, you know, an agenda when they make announcements and things of that nature. VIX over 24, Nvidia cool. Yeah, let's take a look at the VIX real quick, actually, while we're doing this. And then I got some stock picks for you, depending if you want to play them. I've got some pretty interesting stock picks here. Look at that 20-day EMA. Nice pivot. You see here, nice bounce off of it. Looks like it's finding a level of support here as well with the VIX. So what does that mean, huh? That means, honestly, my opinion, if we take out today's upper wick or get a nicer full body candlestick, because right now I'm showing indecision, a little optimism because it's open bodied. But yeah, you know, that could tell me that, hey, the VIX is finding a level of support. And if it does start to rise again, what does that mean for the market? It generally means the market's going to be falling, right? So keep that in mind as well. You know, I'd like to see that price action get back below the 20-day EMA to show that momentum really has waned. And you can see that right here. If I go back in time, you can see right here, again, rejection of that 20-day EMA. So that 20-day EMA actually plays out pretty well. You know, really flat right here. But yeah, if you missed the big blast off on the VIX, if you're trying to play to the downside of the market, hedge the market, whatever it may be, you might be seeing an opportunity presenting itself here. And while we're looking at this, let's just look at UVXY. So I know a lot of people trade that. That is leveraged 1.5 times the VIX. So if the VIX is already too volatile for you, this will definitely be too volatile for you as well. And here's the VIX. You can see we're right at that level support here. Not quite at the 20-day EMA, but again, it's 1.5 leverage, so it is going to be above it. And you can see, nice full body candlestick there. But again, I see some optimism there when it comes to the VIX. We'll see what news plays out, right? I am not day trading. I like the OEF, but would buy calls when the market turns. S&P 400 RT works well too at the bottoms. I only trade crypto, but I'm interested in MSTR, kind of. Cheryl, I saw a story today. I think it was OR. It was a $5 billion market cap company. Lost pretty much all of its value within just a few hours. Huge rug pull. Again, I've said it before. There's all types of cryptos out there. And if you don't know the pump and dump cryptos, and if you're not aware that they're just meant for volatility and pump and dumps, don't think, don't say I didn't tell you so. But there are applicable cryptos that I personally think are worth something. And then there's crapto, right? Glenn will call it all crapto. And there is actually crypto that is backed by gold. I did find some commodity-based backed cryptos by gold. So, if you think about gold, but you're more of a crypto player, you can Google them. There's a couple to choose out there. Oh my God, rug pull. I know what you were saying. Yeah, so Cheryl, you did see that? Yeah, it was bad. The Hawk Tua chick even came out. So yes, if you see like a Trump coin, a Hawk Tua coin, some kind of coin that just happens to be popular in the news, don't fall for it. Please don't fall for it. Or if you do, get in, get out quickly, right? Don't just buy it and leave it be, because that gravy train, that's gonna end out very bad for you. Are some of you guys investing in Eli and Lilly? Oh, that's a good company. I'll take a look at it here. Glenn bought coin on the IPO. The Coinbase IPO? I can see that. I like Coinbase because I think it's just a very good entry level to the crypto world. I mean, beginner levels like Robinhood, Webull, you get a couple to choose from. I know they've been expanding that portfolio. Coinbase is the more, the tier up to get into the crypto world. And then after that, I mean, it's like things like Binance, Pancake Swap, Uniswap, things like that. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you haven't quite gotten to that level yet. But yeah, so here's the VIX. Now let me show you. Let's see if there's some potential winners here. I did put some lists together. See, first we're going to touch base on the news related stocks. I've got Antimony here. It's the only buy rated stock again. It's at $2.99, so it did give up that $3 gain here. But what I do like about it, look at the RV coming in at 1.3. Great relative value rating here. So if you're not familiar with the RV is, that just compares this investment with a AAA corporate bond, right? So interest rates obviously going to play a role in that over the next several years. So this is telling me that this is likely to outperform the bond. Actually, all of these are except Intel. Right. So, and honestly, the safety here, Intel also lags the pack. Even in RT, Intel lags the pack in every single one. That's why, I see it's up 2.8% on the deal that they had, but, I'm not sold on Intel. I've said it for Nvidia, AMD, probably better choices, especially with Xilinx, because that's now going to compete with Intel and was it Silver Lake that did the buyout here. But, I'd like to see Intel thrive. I mean, that is our bread and butter when it comes to our semiconductor, at least the old school semiconductor. I mean, that put United States on the map when it comes to semiconductors. So I would like to see the company, turn around, or, TSM create more partnerships with them. Because TSM, Intel can learn a lot from TSM. And the further intertwined we get with Taiwan, I think it's for the better, as far as, national security, even prices, obviously that could help keep prices down when it comes to technology, things of that nature. TGTX, anyone in this one didn't fall that much since the market turned around. I'll take a look at that one. But yeah, US Antimony, that's leading the pack here. Nvidia, AMD, Nvidia undervalued, AMD undervalued. Intel is actually overvalued to our metrics and with the poor ratings here. And look at the negative growth rate, sales growth rate. I just can't get behind it. Let's just graph it, just see if there's any kind of trading opportunities. I like the idea of investing in Intel, but it's just hard. It's hard. I like to root for the home team. I mean, AMD and Nvidia is the home team as well. TSM might as well be the home team. I think that might as well be the home team. Let's be honest. It's pronounced Z-Links. Okay, thank you, Huge. Well, and I should have known that. It's been a while I've been talking about it. But yeah, so US Antimony, this is what I was talking about. The valuation here is the green line, right? You see the valuation, the stock was way overvalued. That was my first concern we started talking about. You see the descending channel, broke out of that bad boy. But look what the valuation is doing. The valuation, let me use a date line here. $0.20. Okay, so I was right, about 20 cents there. And it jumped up 54, 80s. It did get even higher, close to $2. See here, 205. It did take back a little bit, then now it's coming back. 186, right? So if I'm in a high momentum play, just in case, you didn't stick to your trading plan or whatever, it becomes emotional, I should say. I'd like to at least see the valuation tick up, right? Because if I'm going to be a bag holder, I at least want it to be a good bag. I don't want to be holding a bad bag. That's just a waste of time. We've all done it. I've held a bag before. That's where discipline comes in place, right? And then you just sit there, you're waiting for the stock to come back. You're just praying for the stock to come back. Let's be honest. But all right, so we got Nvidia. We're not going to talk about Nvidia because we just talked about that chart. Here's AMD, the descending channel here I've been talking about. Oh, let's get rid of this little line. I'm not sure what that was from. But you can see the descending channel coming into play here. We are above that descending channel right now, so that's why I do like some optimism there. Again, I'm going to have the same feeling for AMD as I do Nvidia. These stocks are undervalued. They're getting beat up in price. Sub 100 AMD, obviously if you got it in when it was below $80, who bought AMD when it's less than 80? I did not. I wish I would have. But I had other things going on. But if you got into AMD sub 80, you are a champ. If you got an Nvidia sub 90, and I'm not talking about backing up the truck, but at least get a little, because me personally, I think over the next 6 to 9 months, the name of the game is just to get the lowest dollar cost average if you're an investor, right? So I don't think pouring all in, in the first month or two of mayhem, and then you don't have any more money to put in is a good idea, right? I think, evenly spread it out, over the next few months, right? Don't just keep dollar cost averaging, surpass what your holding should be. So if I'm, if I'm thinking about buying AMD just for easy math, say $5,000 with AMD over the next 12 months on discount, I take a nibble, or Nvidia, 500, a couple bucks share, sorry, a couple $100 here, maybe $1,000 there if I really like the price, build up that position, right? That's what I would do. I think these next 4 years will be loaded with volatility, which means opportunity. Yes, Pennywise, don't be scared of volatility. Just stick to the right side of the chart, right? Stick to the trend. If it's trending down, don't buy it, right? If it's trending up, buy it. But even for long-term investors, anything I'm going to aim for is going to be undervalued, good quality stocks. I'm not going to, be buying the dip on overpriced AI or overpriced quantum. And I know there's some value there, but it's very risky value, very risky. But yeah, that's AMD. So that's some optimism. Intel, Intel's, it's not a descending channel like the other one. So that's opportunistic, but it just isn't doing anything. Let's see here. Let's go back a couple years. Intel is now trading where it was back in 2013, 2012. Yeah, I can't get behind Intel. I can't get behind it. Not the type. I'd have to see more turnaround stories. I want to, headlines, CNBC, Intel, turnaround, underdog, coming back, something like that, and I'm not seeing it. So until I see something like that, I'm not going to dive into Intel right now. And it just hit a new low. Actually, just hit a new low over a new 13-year, almost 14-year low as of recently. So no, I'm not going to be buying the dip. I'm not going to say buy the dip on Intel. If you buy that dip, that's on you. I like the idea of Intel, but it's just not there. TSM, AMD, Nvidia, they've stolen the show. All right, let's get out of this one. Let's look at some stocks here. First one I got for you today, we got best of the biggies. Now, in Unisearch, just to show you where I got these from, right? Best of the biggies, you can see still highlighted here. We've got several one of these, right? And just to kind of break these down, because I know we're getting close to bottom fishing. We'll see what happens, right? Forget UAMY. Hello. It's prettier sister, USAR. I'm writing it down, Tabula. That is not on my radar. Maybe that'll be the video tonight. UAMY versus USAR. Because I don't think that this whole critical mineral and rare earth thing, this ain't going away, right? I mean, the whole objective right now is for national security purposes, right? I bought Intel in its 18s. David, Intel in its 18s, you know, I'm not the biggest fan of the stock, but I think you got in at a good price if you're in at 18. I don't know how long you've been holding it. But just, yeah, MP. Hey, MP I like. You know what? Maybe I should do another rare earth mineral video, because the last one I did barely got any views. And for some reason, the videos that I feel like probably would have helped the most, no one watches. But yeah, MP was on that list. There's actually a couple of them here. Let's just see what we got here. We'll go back to it. I think it was rare earth. I think this was back in October when I did the video. So let's just go back to October. And I'm going to add that one, the USAP, to this list. So I'll just do here, green light, make it easy. You should probably buy when there's a green light, right? All right, so we'll hit quick test all. See what we got here. All right. Oh, I forgot I added SO. I did not mean to do that. Ignore SOXL. You can see it's down quite a bit. And ship. Actually, let me get rid of these. I don't know why I forgot I put them here accidentally. Delete. Yeah, ignore those two. Those are not rare earth companies. And actually, let's do this. USAP. That was it, right? USAP. Anybody know any other good rare earth mineral stocks? Let's see here. Oh, USAR. Sorry, USAR. US rare earth. Hey, just the name alone screams America. I'm not surprised it'd be up today. USAR. Why is it not refreshing? Interesting. All right, let's quick test these. So these are the rare earth stock. Look, 117% since October. One loser, UUUU. That's a uranium stock, but they do have portfolios and some rare earths and things of that nature, right? Hey, thank you, Hamano. Give me a stock symbol. I'll write it down. We'll break it down. Definitely make sure that gets analyzed today, right? But these are stocks. Look, this UAMY, since I started talking about it, up 400%. Don't ignore these. I would say UAMY is a dead now and the trade is over, but the value just skyrocketed with the price of the stock, right? So I don't think it's over. We'll take a look at those. And actually, let's look at these real quick. MP full body candlestick, upper wick here, right at this prior swing high, so be careful there. If you're in it, I like that full bodied. I can't complain about that stock at all. But look, it's just overvalued, right? That's why I don't like to see. I don't mind seeing overvalued stock, but I don't like to see value just flat. And this one actually decreased, right? So that's not very optimistic for me. UUU finally becoming fairly valued. You see, it's a little overvalued now. This might actually be a good bottom fishing opportunity. Look at this pivot here. If it can get above 450, it's at 420 right now. It's about 30 cents away. That might be worth it. You see, it's above its 20-day EMA, broke its downward trend line, all that good stuff. Even the value spike up here closer to about 475, I think it is. Well, I just had it highlighted. This one might be a good one. Actually, I do like that bottom fishing pivot, though. Huh. You guys might want to write that one down. UUUU. Here's UAMY, Antimony. Hey, I mean, look at the valuation. Above its 20-day EMA. The only thing I will say for a bearish case scenario, if this thing doesn't just keep rocketing, is probably going to want to retest this 240 level at some point, right? Somewhere in this zone. You know, so if you miss the opportunity and you're looking for the next opportunity, you know, maybe look for a nice retest on this, you know, with a pivot to follow through to the upside. That would be my bit of it. And the 20-day EMA is coming up here. So yeah, if it did come back down, you know, this EMA may continue to rise here, but that's kind of where I would see a nice level support here. Hopefully a nice pivot. All right. I think that, oh wait, do we have one more? Oh yeah, there we go. We got NB. This is another mining company, but again, way overvalued here. Not as much upside momentum as we're seeing some of the others, but I do like that. I mean, look, bottom wick, full body candlestick, but look at this upper wick here. Me personally, I want to get back above this level resistance. You're looking around 259, 260, something there. Look at this. We're trying to get you some fish. You know, this is what's working in the market, these rare earths right now. Okay, this stock is new to the database. Awesome. Okay, so we got a new one to talk about. I like it. We might do rare earths tonight. But yeah, nice full body candlestick. The valuation here, not too far apart. We got $7. It is a little far apart. Almost double what its valuation is. But again, a lot of momentum here. I'll have to look at some news stories, see exactly what's going on. But the Trump administration, their smelting capacity for UAMY, if I remember correctly, it was like tripling it or quadrupling it. We have some MP calls. Bill, that's not a bad play. Not a bad play at all. All right, let me get through some of these other stock picks and then hit that like button because I am sticking to Glenn's policy. You know, for every, 10 likes, you get a stock pick. And why Hamamoto? Oh, qubits. Okay, that's your stock. Got you. Let's break that down now, actually. Let's break down qubits. We're going to take a look at these in just a second. Thank you for the super chat, by the way. I appreciate it. Again, you know what me and Glenn feel about these stocks. They're overvalued. It's momentum trades. You can see the double top formation here already appearing. I see, there's the one top. There's the double. That's not a good sign. Broke its 20-day EMA. Retested that 20-day EMA. If that bad boy doesn't, find a level of support here soon, I'm going to say probably around the 689 level, so, really soon, this thing could drop all the way back down to 550 rather quickly. Why Hamamoto? I don't know what your objectives here. If you're just swing trading it, if this is, if you're a quantum believer and you're going to diamond hands this thing, but right now this chart is telling me I am more bearish than bullish, especially in the short term right now, that 20-day EMA. But overall, if you really want a nice cutoff line, because I don't want anything becoming emotional, that's never good. You probably connect these two, right? I'd connect these two. If it could stay above this trend line, just continue that out, I'd ride it out, right? See what happens. But if it drops below that trend line and it just got a clear rejection from that 20-day EMA, and and again, quantum, we're in a risk-off environment right now, right? Quantum is an interesting perspective in that risk-off environment because, yes, I do see the game-changing applications here. But obviously that, it's going to play a role. And look at the valuation here. I mean, the stock is just way overvalued. 58 cents now currently. And if we use a date line, the valuation from 9 cents to almost 60 cents. So it's, sixfold. And we look at our price action here. I'll say $1.20 times that by 6 puts me about right where I'm at now because I know these stocks are used to trading at a premium. But honestly, I'm just gonna give you my fair opinion. I'm gonna say I'm more bearish than bullish right now on it. Right? If this stock is going to create a pivot, it needs to do it really soon because if it drops below this resistance level, I would be very careful. All right, let's see here. Let's get out of quantum. Let's go take a look at these stocks. SMCI, we got Super Micro. This one here, best of Biggie's bottom fishing. The bottom fishing folder here in Unisearch, easiest way to put it. These blue chip ones, obviously, and best of the Biggies can be a little bit more conservative, prudent in nature. Because they're bigger cap companies, things of that nature. Blair's bottom feeders, bottoms up, even Jailbreak. This is going to be like more speculative, aggressive. Yeah, you can definitely get some home runs here, but they have to be well managed. Other than that, we got the small caps here, Russell 2000, and then we got back into the S&P. So obviously that's going to be more prudent to a conservative style of bottom fishing. And then we've got the VST Mighty Mites here, which is also a good one. So I just want to break that down. Just because I know, a lot of people are getting that shopping list ready, tiptoeing into the market. If you want some fish, run these searches here, depending on your risk level, you could say, and that'll point you in the right direction. Now let's go back to the viewers tab. So I ran one of them today, best of the Biggies bottom fishing. These are the stocks that appeared in the list, right? Some of them are up today. We got about 11 stocks here. and 4 of them are in positive territory. Look, RVs, all favorable. Safety ratings, all favorable. The only thing here, relative timing, right? So these are good quality stocks, beaten up in price. Warren Buffett has said it the best. The market can make mistakes pricing stocks, right? Look at the forecasted data here. Sales growth rate, earnings growth rate. Qubits, I just talked about it. Why Hamamoto? Did you? Yeah, we just talked about qubits. I see that rejection on the 20-day EMA. But yeah, good on a bottom bounce. Yeah, Lulu. So in that bottom bounce, it's got to happen pretty soon for me. Otherwise, this trend line here, look for the bounce here. This is the resistance. But yeah, if you're holding, I don't know where you bought it. Why? But I'm bearish right now. But either it's got to catch a level of support here, or you see the trend line is now getting into the bottom of this support zone. We might have a little bit more downward pressure, but that's the pivot I would look into, right? When you talked about UUU, are you advising that for short-term investing? I'm new to investing. UUU, that's a good question. As of right now, swing trade. But even if you're a longer-term investor, I mean, you are getting a deal on this stock, historically speaking. I mean, the whole time it's been overvalued, so I'm not going to bring up the overvalue argument. But yeah, I would be more of a swing trader on this position rather than, investing. If you want to invest into it, at least you're in a pretty good price over the last several years of it. And it is trending up right now. Oh, sorry, I backed up a few minutes. Oh, you're good. You're good. But all right, let's get back to it. We got Block here, Arista, Twilio. So these are good, solid, fundamental companies. They're just been beaten up in price. Forecasted data is excellent. So let's just break these down. See if we got some opportunities here. Oh. All right. We got SMCI undervalued, right? You can see this is what I don't like. If you're on SMCI, this is bad, right? We're retesting this from the bottom end. And we're getting some rejection of that 20-day EMA, right? So if you were one of these bottom fishers on SMCI, that trend, that upward trend from the bottom has now come to an end, right? And we're actually retesting it. Cutoff level, probably around $27, somewhere around the support. Yeah, because I'd even probably tighten that maybe halfway. Because if we go into the other half, it's going to be tempted to create a new low, and that would not be good. But as far as SMCI, I want to get above that 20-day EMA. I'm not saying bottom fishing is the day today. Today is not the day for bottom fishing, but these are stocks I have on your radar. If you're holding SMCI, be careful. Here we've got DEC. Look at this. It's a huge sell-off opportunity. I mean, the stock is still greatly undervalued. A lot of consolidation. It's still an uptrend, but look, again, rejection, 20-day EMA. If you want confirmation, again, look, rejection. Here's block, right? Rejection several times on a 20-day EMA. The first thing I'm going to look for in these stocks, the stocks get above the 20-day EMA, right? That's at least going to tell me, hey, a lot of the bleeding is done. Now DEC is one of the lowest RTs out there for decent stocks. John, I like it. I like this a lot. And honestly, what I'm seeing right now, you're probably going to see some volatility here soon if I had to guess, just because you are seeing a pretty good pennant formation here. Yeah, it's getting tighter and tighter. So there's a little chart pattern for you. But yeah, you're probably going to see a little volatility here. I want to get above this level of resistance to get optimistic, and more importantly, just above the 20-day EMA. But yeah, definitely not a bad stock to have on your radar, right? Way oversold, good fundamentals, good forecasted data. Now here's Arista Networks. It broke this downward trend line, jumped up to that 20-day EMA, but rejection, right? I will say this, the stock is becoming fairly valued. So for a stock that's always historically traded at a premium, if you've been waiting on it, but you see, look, value on the rise, price action on the rise. That's why I like, if I'm in an overvalued stock, I like stocks where value's on the rise. We see price action coming back down to this valuation, right? Investors are not paying a premium for it. Well, they'll probably will at some point again. So I think you're getting a good deal here on this position. Am I going to buy it today? I'm not too optimistic on buying it right this second. Now here we've got Onto Innovation. Again, another stock undervalued, right? But just look at this. For the 3 months, it's still in that big-bodied candlestick from the rally we saw last week. I'd want to see it, not only get above that 20-day EMA, but let's get above this resistance. That puts us out to the upside of the body of that big rally, showing confirmation to the upside, right? Here we've got Twilio. Undervalued. Actually, this is not a bad deal for this position here. Look, nice retest on this level support here at 75.18. Filled that gap. Well, did not fill the gap, actually. It looks like it wanted to, but just wasn't there. This position has not even reached its 20-day EMA and already seeing rejection. So, yeah, good stock, good fundamentals, just a little too early right now. You can see a lot of that's going on with this stock. Yep. So, there's some good, a lot of good stock recommendations here. Just, the market is not giving us what we need to right now. So, let's close out of this. We did have some bullish engulfing candlesticks. I ran the search here for this, so let's see if there's any opportunities coming here. Drag this over. Now, this bullish engulfing candlestick, we want to see follow through come tomorrow. And if you see follow through and that primary wave is still up, these might be good, good short-term swing trades. I'm gonna get rid of value that's skewing it. All right, we did have a bullish engulfing. It looks like we're losing that as of right now. There's a utility company, so I'm going to skip that one. This bullish engulfing completely disappeared. So you can see, look, the bulls, I had a feeling this morning. This one, I don't like this one at all. See, this stock came up here, barely holding on to that bullish engulfing. So, yeah, not a good day to do it. This one is holding, though. Maybe see if there's some follow-through on this. And honestly, if there is follow-through, the 20-day EMA is still about 20 cents away. So you got a little bit of room to run there. Indices jumping, no idea news-wise. Well, these bullish engulfings might be coming back then. Here's one that's holding its ground. This is AELH. Here we got PRFX. This one's lost that bullish engulfing. This is a drug company. All right, let's close out of that. All right, now let's do your stocks. Unless RT is greater than 1, do not touch them. U12, yes, that is the way to do that. I mean, that's the right thing. But again, it really depends on your risk level. Because if you wait till RT's back above 1, especially some of these bottom fishers, all that blast off is now over, right? See, this is an old list of customer picks, apparently. It's the last time I covered for Glenn, so let's just get rid of these. Delete. IAG. NFLX. ISME. ISME is not on there. Clay, how many likes do we have?
We have 60.
60. All right. You get 6 stocks. I'll give you a 7. One for good luck. MDLZ. SOSX. No. We do not try. Are you talking about SOXL, EV? We got Goldman Sachs. IB. Yep, I got IBN. Just make sure I get them in order. TGT. Yep, there we go. Therapeutics. All right, there's the 7. And then EV, just let me know. SOSX. That was not in the system. Is there a different one? Because you were... Yeah, Lou, that's what I'm thinking. A lot of these stocks are just downtrend. These good quality companies, if you don't like buying stocks in downtrend, all you got to do is just draw a nice, simple, straight line. If it breaks the trend line and we're seeing momentum, hey, that's when you know it's starting to uptrend, right? Super low RT when the market turns, so it should take off, just like the bottom feeder strategy. Yep, so, John, yeah, it just depends if you're comfortable with it, right? That's what it comes down to. Are you comfortable with it? And, again, backing up the truck, loading up, 100% in stocks right now, not a good idea. You still want to have cash in your portfolio when opportunities are presenting themselves, right? Because every week we're seeing different companies, where potentially there could be really good nibbles at, right? So you don't want to, eat up any kind of cash you have on poor strategies, essentially, right? It's the Contra ETF. Oh, you're talking about SOXL. Oh, SOXS. Where did you? That was not what you told. SOS. Okay, yeah, that's why. Yeah, I thought I typed that in before and said I didn't find it. Yeah, it's a semiconductor triple leverage to the downside. Yeah, no, that makes sense. And that's honestly not a bad play. If you're trading volatility. And again, if you are thinking about semiconductors, Nvidia, whatever it may be what we just talked about, ASML, TSM report. I'll probably do a video on whatever they talk about, but that, the earnings is one thing. I don't think the earnings really matters too much, but the forecasted data, they're going to talk about the tariffs, the trade war, partnerships, things like that. How is the semiconductor industry going to look going forward with everything going on? That's what I care about when it comes to, the earnings call this week, when it comes to ASML and TSM. All right, so as far as these companies here, Goldman Sachs, that's the only sell recommendation here. Price action, most of these are actually up today. Fundamentally, not a bad batch for the most part. A lot of these ratings are over 1. RT relative timing. I am gold at the top of the list, not surprised. Mondelez. The ones below 1, we got Netflix here, Goldman Sachs, and then obviously SOXS. So let's take a look at these here and look at the sales growth rate here. 146%. Even gold forecasted data. That's phenomenal. So let's break these down, see what we got here. All right, I am gold. Look at this. That's actually a bullish engulfing right out the back, right? I've said it before. I am more confident in a dip in gold than I am in a dip in a tech company right now. And you can see the last couple dips on gold here have been worth the buy. You can see momentum to the upside. Full body candlestick. I like it. Diverging away from that 20-day EMA. Everything tells me, hey, gold is still looking good. Look at bull up $46. Interesting. All right, next we got Mondelez International. It's a food company. Food's been hot lately. It's been one of the top RT industries. Probably another item I would say, probably worth buying the dip. You see both dips here, worth it. Full body candlestick today. The price action just got back above the 20-day EMA. Let's just see if it's in the fast lane. Actually, and it is approaching the fast lane here. I don't know why it changed my colors. There we go. All right, now we can see the fast lane here, right? I'll get rid of the 3 and 8. Yeah, and the RSI, it's only at 60, so this thing could take off quite a bit here. If you're not in it, see what happens at this trend line here, right? If we get a break, if we get a close or open above it, hey, might be worth momentum play since we're in the fast lane, right? But if we get rejection and you're in this, taking profits, not a bad idea. I'd rather have small wins than big losses right now. Here we've got IBN. This is a foreign bank here. Again, foreign banks have been hot. You see, that's about where it was 6 months ago. But since the beginning of the year, if I do a 3-month chart here, nice, steady stair-step fashion. Rejection at the fast lane, right? If you think about the stock, for confirmation, I want to see a close in the fast lane. But as long as it's above that 20-day EMA, I'd probably be willing to ride it out, right? So just, make sure you have a plan in place. Here we've got TGTX. We got therapeutic company here. Look at this, rejection at the 20-day EMA. Just be careful of that here. We are in a downtrend right now. I see the buying opportunity or the buying pressure. But honestly, I like what I see here, but not with this upper wick right at that 20-day EMA. We've looked at too many stocks today that got rejection at 20-day EMAs. If you're not in it, I'd look for some follow through above that 20-day EMA, right? Need to be disciplined and buy the dips on gold rather than chase the gold. I think one of my video last week was, I said literally gold is better than tech. And Bill, you called me out because that was Wednesday when tech rallied off, the tariff news or whatnot. And then the next day it went to crap and gold soared. But yeah, gold is that, if you're going to be bullish, gold, that's where I'm at right now. Netflix. I want to take out this prior high. I want a higher high. I want to see an uptrend here. The valuation, the stock is just way overvalued. When it comes to the big mega cap companies, I know this was a FANG stock. Again, I still prefer undervalued. I think Meta is still undervalued. Google still undervalued. But just looking at that, you just draw a trend line here. Just depending on how aggressive you are. But the more conservative approach is going to be wait until we break above this trend line, right? Because you see, every time it gets above this 20-day EMA, pretty short-lived. We're right at this trend line now. There's not much room there. Maybe about 20, 30 bucks. So, just keep that in mind. If you are more conservative, wait for it to break above the trend line. Or even get in the if it goes in the fast lane, that'll be there, right? And from an investment perspective, I just don't, I think there's other better values out there right now when it comes to this market. Ryan, but some of the gold plays are parabolic. Bill, have you ever bought a parabolic stock before? And not all, but some of them, yeah. I know what you're saying, because a lot of money is flowing into them. And I'm not too concerned about gold stocks in general. I mean, gold price is going to be gold price. But the stocks, if you look, they're all undervalued. Well, I'm not going to say all, but if you look, it's hard to find an overvalued gold stock in the VectorVest 7 system. Most of them are undervalued, and most of them have phenomenal forecasted data. So why do I got to reinvent the wheel and, trick myself into saying, hey, gold's not the play right now? Because it's been the play. It is the play. It is, it's the play. That's just me personally. When I start to see gold unwind and tech really start to take off, then I'll know that play is over, right? But, 20-day EMAs, trend lines, something simple, just, trailing stop, something to help capture these big moves. Or like Bill said, some of them are parabolic, right? So I have to, I don't want to do a simple gain loss, because say if I do a 30% gain, 20% loss, if a gold stock goes up to 28% and decides to drop back down, guess what? You didn't take no profits. GLDM has done well. Yeah. So again, and I just try to put you on the right side of the market. All right, we got what? Last stock here, SOXS. I mean, look at the big drop in it. It was at $50, now at $23. This is the bearish one. This does short them. You can see it gaining momentum today. If you think the news with ASML or TSM is going to be bad, this might be a good one to play to the downside of that, right? If you think what they say is going to be good, and honest, I don't know what they're going to say, and I'm not going to speculate. I'd rather just hear it and then assess the situation afterwards. But right now, this is not in the fast lane, because you see this thing moves very quickly. I'd rather see this thing in the fast lane or above the 20-day EMA. You can see right here, a little bit more aggressive in the 20-day EMA, a little bit more prudent in the star search, but big opportunities when things present themselves. I think gold stocks are benefiting from the drop in fuel cost. Well, John, I think they're benefiting from that, but I don't think that's why they're moving up. No, I think there's a lot of demand for central banks around the world. There's been a lot of concerns with fiat currencies. That's why we've seen Bitcoin rise to $3 or $4 trillion valuation, or $2 trillion. I see, just a risk-off environment. I think gold is going to thrive, right? All right, let's see what the major indices are doing, because you said they're taking off. They went down. You see it was red. Dow Jones looks like it's, they're struggling in positive territory. Why didn't the exemption on computers and smartphones hit hard? Well, Tabula, I hate getting political. Over the weekend, a White House aide said it ain't going to happen. And then it does happen, right? We've seen that happen too many times. There's been too much back and forth. So I'm not just going to listen to a little bit of news of what's coming out of the White House and make decisions on it. No, because I know that can change in an instant. I think that's what the market is, still jittery, right? All right. On that note, everybody, let's see here. We're going to end probably with 2 yellow lights today. We're not going to see any green until Wednesday, because even tomorrow we're coming off 3 red lights tomorrow, so you're not going to see any green tomorrow. So we're coming off this April 8th. But April 9th, this will bring us to Wednesday. If we, depending on what the optimism in the market is, that could be a blast off day. We could see green lights across the board come Wednesday. But again, time will tell. As of right now, we're not going to see any green lights here until Wednesday in the software. Now, I hope everyone enjoyed today's presentation. I will be doing tonight's 6 p.m. video. It might be on rare earths. I'm not sure yet, but looks like a good direction to go. Now, I hope everyone has a good afternoon. Like I said, Glenn should be back tomorrow, business as usual. And I will see you guys Wednesday for the AMA. And don't forget about the roadshow. May 1st, the first half of it is free. You can register, come check us out in Charlotte, North Carolina. If you've never been here, it's beautiful. I mean, especially if you're up in the cold, because it's like in the 80s and the 70s here right now. Come hang out with Glenn and I. And then in the evening, we got the VIP experience. Like I said, rooftop restaurant. We rented out the presidential suite at a hotel in Uptown Charlotte. We have a sommelier doing a wine tasting there, sponsored by Jarvis. Check it out. It's more than just going to be stocks. It's going to be a lot of fun. Hope to see you guys there, and I will see you on Wednesday. Take care.
Hey, VV Nation, I'm Glenn.
And I'm Ryan. We've got a special event coming next month, May 1st. We're finally hitting the road. Now, we will be hosting some live streams. Tell them a little bit about the live streams we'll be doing.
We're going to have the Stock Analysis Power Hour. Ryan will host that. Bring your stocks. Let Ryan break them down for you. I'll also do a live stream called Trending Thursday. That's where we go through, look at what's going on in the market, what's going on in the news, and we analyze stocks. We also have a live presentation for those people who will be attending live as well. What's that, Ryan?
Now, we do have the presentation titled Unlocking the Secrets of Financial Success. Now, to register for free and get the details, just go to VectorVest.com/roadshow.